All right. Shalom Yasharala. Before we get started, we're going to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rachak Wadash, and double honors to the apostles, bishops, and elders of Great Millstone that teach and rule well. Peace and salutations to the hopeful elect. Back another video, another lesson. And this is going to be a response to an article. Let me pull it up. This is from End Time Headlines. It says, mass stabbing in D.C. leaves 6 victims hospitalized. All right, and it's not a long article, so we'll read the whole thing, Lord willing. But let's get into it. It says a mass stabbing unfolded in Northeast Washington, D.C., leaving 6 people injured in what authorities have described as a random substance fuel attack. It said the suspect, who was apprehended by D.C. police shortly after the incident, allegedly stabbed 4 women and 2 men before turning the knife on himself. The chaotic scene has raised concerns about public safety and mental health in the nation's capital. According to reports from Fox News, the suspect was arrested on Montpellier Avenue Northeast after a swift response from law enforcement. D.C. Police Chief Pamela Smith stated that the individual appeared to be in an quote, altered mental state induced by an unknown substance, which may have fueled the violent outburst. Right. The suspect's self-inflicted wounds further complicated the situation. It's as though he was taken into custody and is receiving medical attention. The Washington Post reported that the victims, all innocent bystanders, were attacked seemingly at random as they went about their day. Emergency services transported the injured 4 women and 2 men to nearby hospitals, where they were listed in stable condition. Authorities have called the assault senseless, emphasizing that there was no apparent motive or connection between the suspect and the victims. CNN highlighted the scale of the incident, noting that it unfolded in broad daylight, sending shockwaves through the Northeast D.C. community. Witnesses describe a frantic scene as the suspect wielded a knife, targeting anyone in his path. It was like he didn't even see who he was hitting, one onlooker told reporters. He just kept going until the police showed up. The Associated Press added that the suspect's erratic behavior, including stabbing himself, has led investigators to explore whether synthetic drugs or other substances played a role. You know, they may say these things, which it could be true, because people are bugged out, but also keep in mind that Esau, back in the day, they used to do this thing called MK Ultra. All right, if you don't know what MK Ultra is, you can look it up real quick. MK Ultra. It says Project MK Ultra was a human experimentation program designed and undertaken by the U.S. Central Intelligence Agency to develop procedures and identify drugs that can be used during interrogations to weaken individuals and force confessions through brainwashing and physical torture. All right. So don't think for yourself and don't think in your mind that, oh, they stopped doing this. No, they can still do these things, man. They just keep it on the hush-hush, You go more into it if you like. So that's just something to keep in mind. But continuing on, it says Chief Smith declined to speculate on the specific substance pending toxicology results, but underscored the growing challenge of substance-related crimes in urban areas. This incident comes at a time when D.C. has been grappling with rising concerns over violent crime. Reuters noted that local leaders are now facing renewed pressure to address both public safety and mental health resources in the wake of the attack. Community members expressed outrage and fear, with some calling for increased police presence in the affected neighborhood. All right, so as you can see, evils are increasing as, privacy states. All right, let's start with Matthew. Let's get that. This is the book in Matthew 24. And I read verse 8. It says, all these are the beginning of sorrows. All right, when you read the book of Matthew, Yahushua, that was his name, his true name, okay? It wasn't Jesus, all right? He was given the signs of his, the end of the world or the age, all right? Let me see something real quick. Yeah. And the third verse says, and as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came unto him privately, saying, tell us, when shall these things be? And what shall be the sign of thy coming and the end of the world? You get this word world in the Greek. All right. Now there's different words for world in the Greek. You got cosmos. You got the one in Revelation 3:10, which is oikomene. You got aeon or aeon or ion. This world in the Greek is ion. G65, Slovakia. G165.
Strong's G165, Ion. Ion.
Ion. All right, and it means forever, unbroken age, perpetuity of time, eternity. Definition 2 says the world's universe. But down here it says a period of time, age. All right. So the disciples were asking, when is the end of this age? All right. Which this age is Esau's. Well, this world is Esau's world. All right. Let's see what I just want to see what that says. All right. So they were asking, what are the signs of, the end of this world? When is your sign of your return? He was giving them, listing them. All right. It says, verse 9, then shall they deliver you up to be afflicted and shall kill you, and ye shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake. And that happened, during the time of the apostles. All right. Back then they were persecuted, they were afflicted, but it's going to happen again once again, even in this time, to those who are out on street corners preaching the word in sincerity and truth, which is, the brothers that starting with the apostles, bishops and elders on down, the great millstone in our affiliates. It says, and then shall many be offended and shall betray one another and shall hate one another. People are going to start betraying people, even those in the ministry. You're going to have people who you came in with, who you out there with. They may, turn on you. Esau may got to him, offered him some money, and they're going to turn on you. That word offended, I want to see what offended
Strong's G 4624,
offended.
Scandalizo. Scandalizo.
Scandalizo sounds like scandalous. It says to put a stumbling block or impediment in the way upon which another may trip or fall. Metaphor, to offend, to entice to sin, to cause a person to begin to distrust and desert one whom he ought to trust and obey, to cause to fall away, to be offended in one, i.e. to see in another what I disapprove of and what hinders me from acknowledging his authority, yada, yada, yada. All right. Means to entrap, trip up, figuratively stumble, or entice to sin. Apostasy. Now, what does apostasy mean? Let's get that. It says the abandonment of reunification. That's not right. The abandonment or Salaki, give me 1 second. Renunciation of religious or political belief. I probably said it all wrong, but not the best speller, but basically you're abandoning the faith, and that's what you're gonna have a lot. And that's what you see now. Jake get on TikTok, get on Instagram, YouTube, saying they're no longer Hebrew Israelites, right? Verse 11, and many false prophets shall rise and shall deceive many. We seeing that, with these different camps, different individuals rising up. All right. It says, and because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. Now you get this word cold in the Greek. It's the word psycho.
Strong's G 5594. Psucho. Psucho.
he says suho, but it looks like the word psycho. It says, let me just get to the point. It says metaphor of waning love. All right, so that love, like it's, let me go get that love is, people are gonna that natural affection for one another is gonna be totally gone. People are not gonna be what's the word? If you want to say affectionate as they used to be. It was one point in time where you could walk down the street, you could say hi to your neighbors and say hello to one another, but that time is gonna be it's gonna come a time where that's gonna be done away with. There's gonna be no more. Your neighbor's gonna be your enemies. Your family gonna be your enemies. All right. So people are bugging out. You see. Let's get 2 Timothy 3:1. It reads, "Difficult times will come." It says, "This know also that in the last days, and we're living in the last days, perilous times shall come." And perilous means, in the Greek, is halepas. All right, and it means dangerous or troublesome. All right, and Jacob trouble's about to come. Troublesome times are coming. There's gonna be famine. All right, it's gonna be death. We're gonna see a lot of that. Some of us maybe even put to death. For this word. All right, we're gonna see a lot of things happen. Like I said, famine. Plagues, diseases. All right, all types of stuff about to happen. Verse 2: "For men shall be lovers of their own selves." All right, Paul. This is who he's writing to Timothy. All right, there's a letter to Timothy. He's giving the characteristics of, of how people will be in the last days, and we see that it says, "For men shall be lovers of their own selves." Right, you see that on Instagram. Taking selfies. Covetous, people are greedy, boasters, right, proud, blasphemers, disobedient to parents, unthankful, unholy. It says without natural affection. Right?
Strong's G 794. Astargas. Astargas.
Astargas. It says without natural affection, unsociable. Right? People are unsociable nowadays, not enjoying or making an effort to behave sociably in company of others, unfriendly. Okay? Inhospitable, hostile, unapproachable. You see, and people are like that nowadays. People are. It says unsocial, antisocial. People say that now. I'm antisocial. I'm an introvert. We have some brothers have their introverted ways, but we don't put it out in the forefront. But when that that lockdown came, that messed a lot of people up, man. They were in the house, they didn't talk to nobody. All right, it says inhuman, unloving, hard-hearted towards kindred, without natural affection. That goes back to Matthew 24 and was that 12? Yeah, 24 and 12. The love of many shall wax cold. So without natural affection, truce breakers, false accusers, incontinent, fierce, despisers of those that are good, traitors, heady, high-minded, lovers of pleasures more than lovers of the Most High, having a form of godliness, but denying the power thereof, from such turn away. So this is what we're seeing right now. We seeing all these characteristics in people in our day-to-day lives. Right? Let's get Ephesians. What's this? 5 and 16. Let's read it. It says, I'll start at 14. It says, "Wherefore he saith, Awake thou that sleepest, and arise from the dead, and Yahushua, whose that's his true name, all right, Hamashiach, shall give thee light. See then that ye walk circumspectly, not as fools, but as wise, redeeming the time, because redeeming the time, because the days are evil." And we're living in evil days. It's just going to continually increase and get more and more wicked as we go on. That's why we got to, prepare ourselves, pray, do what we got to do to get closer to Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, man. Because we want protection. We want to be, we don't want, to take part in the judgment that's coming. We want to be taken care of. We want to, we want to, escape judgment. All right, that's why we want that thawa, that mark of exemption. But you get this word circumspectly, but doesn't really give you anything. But it says, exactly, accurately, diligently. All right, we can look it up more. Circumspect, it says wary and unwilling to take risks. Circum means around, and spec means to look. So you always, looking around. In a world it says keep me your head on the swivel. All right, that's what we got to do. We got to keep our heads on the swivel, man, because anything can happen. You may go out to eat with your woman or even your family. Somebody may just bug out, and we pray the Lord keep us protected, from those things. But you never know, you know. So we gotta, stay circumspect, stay vigilant, because tough times are coming ahead, man. All right, and we preach about it all the time, and because we believe it, and we see it through the things that's happening in the world. There's 2 16 and 37. It says, I'll read verse 35. It says, "Hear now these things and understand them, ye servants of the Lord." Who are the servants of the Lord? Are the elect. The prophets, the apostles, the teachers. All right. It says, "Behold, the word of the Lord, receive it. Believe not the gods of whom the Lord spake. Behold, the plagues draw nigh and are not slack. As when a woman with child in the 9th month bringeth forth her son, with 2 or 3 hours of her birth, great pains compass her womb, which pains when the child cometh forth, they slack not a moment. Even so shall not the plagues be slack to come upon the earth, and the world shall mourn, and sorrow shall come upon it on every side." So the plagues are coming. Like when a woman's about to give birth and that child is coming, she's in great pain, she's screaming, yelling. It doesn't slack for a moment. So the same way, the Lord's about to bring these plagues upon the world, man. Death, destruction, all right, famine, plague, sicknesses, whatever. We're about to see all of that take place, on this side. So we gotta stay prayed up, man. Let's get one more. Let's end off with this. It says, Luke 21:34, "And take heed to yourselves, lest at any time your hearts be overcharged with surfeiting and drunkenness and cares of this life, and so that day come upon you unawares." We do what we gotta do. All right. We use the world, we don't abuse it. All right, can't be too much in the world. The elders always say, you'll know, you'll feel it in your spirit when you start to realize, all right, I'm doing too much, I'm being too much in the world. I got to get back on. You gotta snap back. In the right mind, because we can get caught up out there, man. Because it's easy. It's easy. You see the things that's happening. It's starting to get warm outside. People are outside. They doing a bunch of stuff. You can get caught up in that real easy. So that's why we gotta try to stay in the spirit, and stay focused on the task at hand. Focus on something better, because this world is about to pass away. Yeah, we got families. Some we deal with women, but this comes first. We gotta have that in the back of our minds. This comes first. All the rest of that comes second, man. We've been called to something that's rare, that nobody on the earth has. Out of 1 billion people, the Lord called us. I ain't gonna say chose, because we don't know if we're chosen, but He called us into this thing, man. This is a blessing to have, to understand that these words, to break it down. Nobody can do that. The Christians ain't doing it. So we gotta stay, try to stay on point, because the evils are coming. So it says, "For as a snare shall it come on all them, all right, that dwell on the face of the whole earth," the people who don't know. It says, "Watch ye therefore and pray always, that ye may be accounted worthy to escape all these things that shall come to pass and stand before the Son of Man." This goes for myself first and foremost. There's a lot of things that we got to work on, brothers and sisters as well. Those of you, like the apostles say, and the elders who are true blue. We all got something to work on. We all dealing with something. But every day we can try to get better. So, and we got to pray more, pray fast, whatever you got to do. So, Lord willing, this was edifying. All right. We will give all honor, all glory, and all praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Chak Wadash, and double honors to the apostles, bishops, and elders of Great Millstone that teach and rule well. Peace and salutations to the hopeful elect. Rules of you edified.